This is what they usually say about you.
Hey, I'm Obi That Said, and we are drinking from the garden hose, your favorite podcast. Guess wherever you get your podcasts, including Apple Podcasts and Alexa, just ask her. She'll play it for you. Hey, how are you?
I'm doing well, Obi. Doing well, and I'm glad to see that you're recording this episode. You got the AI transcript on, so you're all set. Because what people don't know is when we finish the podcast, usually there's an oh shit moment from you because you didn't record it and we have to do it again, or you didn't do the AI and you have to remember what we talked about, or you're just wrong in thinking that you forgot that stuff and it exists. So I'm just glad that we're looking at it right now. It is working. We should be all set.
Oh, I did not know you got the AI message. I do know you got it. It does say recording in the top. Oh, it does say AI now too. Oh, wow. So
See, we're all set.
for the AI message, so people know what that does, it's a little summary, which, given how old I am, it's nice to get after the show because after we have to download it and cut it and put it all together for you to listen to, and I have to write a summary in Apple. I don't remember what we said, but the AI does it for me now. So I really love that new feature. It's definitely for old people. It's not for business people.
Oh, it is absolutely for old people. And I forget when it comes time to promote the episodes what the hell we talked about. Even when we tape on a Thursday for a Friday launch, I still forget Friday morning what the hell we talked about the night before. So that's a sign of old. And as you said, the AI is not for business people. You're absolutely right. The AI makes some mistakes. It's interesting how it summarizes. I think it's awesome that it always says we have playful banter. That's probably my favorite part of the summary, that anyone who thinks I'm a bully is wrong because it's just playful banter according to AI.
Very playful banter. Not too playful, but playful enough. And then, speaking of playful banter, I hear that somebody's been listening to our podcast, listening to us banter about the My Kid Went Away to College Club, and they talked to you about what they should prep for to join the club.
Yeah, well, so I was talking to an individual who's got some kids going away to college. Well, the funny thing is they're not actually going away to college just yet. They're juniors. So they're doing the college visit. They're doing the shit that I never did, right? Visit a college, let alone junior year. I didn't even visit a college senior year. But now kids today, as you know, are visiting schools freshman, sophomore, junior year so that they can have their list of 10 schools or whatever that they're going to apply to. And so anyways, talking to this gentleman, he's got his two juniors or twins. And I said to him, I said, great. So next year when we talk, your kids will be going away. I said, but unfortunately, I still can't get you into the club at that point. And he said, what club are you talking about? I said, well, you know how when you're having a kid, everyone wants to tell you all the advice and you don't listen. And then after you have the kids, you understand what they were talking about. It's the same thing. I could sit here and tell you all the advice you should think about when your kid's going off to college, but you're not going to listen anyway. So just know that there's a club for once you have those kids go away, people are going to go, oh, what's it like? It's the club. You're in the club now. So he's excited about becoming a member of the club when his kids go away.
So I'm going to take this story. We've talked about the club, but some interesting news. My son's girlfriend is about to choose which school she's going to go to. So her parents will be joining the club. But it's funny because she only applied to two schools. She visited more than two. And she was like, some people told me it was crazy only to apply to two schools. And I was like, well, one of them was Rutgers, which is one application. And now it's like 7 schools. It's like it used to be just the New Brunswick schools were on the one app. But now all the New Brunswick schools, including Mason Gross and Newark and Camden, are all on one app. So I'm like, that's more than one school right there.
And actually, it's 3 schools because Camden and Newark are separate schools from New Brunswick.
But they're still in the same one application now.
That's fine. I'm just saying you're actually applying to 3 schools when you do that.
Okay, because we're not going to count Livingston as its own school.
Not anymore. That used to be when we went there, they were their own schools, but I think now it's all one school. I think it's New Brunswick is one school. With maybe an honors college that you have to get accepted to. Mason Gross is different because it's the art school. Okay. So that's three schools
Douglas
there.
and Douglas.
Yeah,
So
okay.
it's
All right,
like,
it's getting complicated. All the point I wanted to make for any Rutgers people out there is Camden and Newark are not the same thing.
okay, yes. In terms of the feel, they're not the same, right? There's other schools they
No, it's
feel
not the
this.
same. I went
Yeah,
to Rutgers. If you went to Rutgers Camden, you didn't go to Rutgers, as far as I'm concerned.
it's got its own sports team. The other ones all have the same sports team.
Okay, that's how we make it. If you got your own, that's again, it always comes back to sports in our lives. If you have your own sports team, you're your own school. That's a good way to look at it.
And by the way, everyone who's not from New Jersey, please welcome back to the conversation. As we've now had a Rutgers debate. Um, but and then another school, and she was like, people said I was being crazy. I'm like, well, you got to the schools you want, so good on you. And why go crazy with all the
What was the other school? Rutgers, and what was the other school?
one school, what's the college that right now is closest to your heart right now?
Well, Montclair State.
There you go.
Wow, she picked two pretty good schools to apply to. There's nothing
Yeah,
wrong with that.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, she got into both, and now she's we'll decide in a few weeks or so. But that's it. But
So something else, Obi, that is interesting in that is the college decision process has changed as well. I mean, again, when I applied to college, I applied to five schools, didn't do the essay for one, so got into the four, got rejected from the one I didn't do the essay for. And then I had to choose. But nowadays, kids are choosing based on financial aid offer. I didn't have financial aid offers. And it's not like that my family didn't get aid. It's just, I don't think that was really a thing. Schools competing with aid and going back and negotiating. And that's a real thing now.
yeah, I think you're right. I think like when we applied, it was like this is the amount of money we can pay for school. These are schools that are in that price range.
Right.
And you went, and oh, surprise, surprise, you're like, oh, I got it. Wow, they thought I was so good they gave me a scholarship or let me into the honor school. Wow, okay. Who knew? And now you're right. And that's why, and then they have the May for like I don't remember having the same deadline for every school. Now it's like May 1st is drop dead decision day for all the schools.
Right. It's almost like they tried to make regular students athletes by having like signing day. May 1st is signing day. And you
Right,
have
right.
it's really interesting how that's all played out. So now it's a big thing on social media. Like you got to walk through the kids' tours. Like you see all the pictures of the kids going on the tours. Then you see the picture of all the acceptance letters coming in. And then decision day, we find out where Johnny's going to school on Facebook.
Yes, yes, yes. All important things to note on Facebook, which my youngest is not doing because he's going the community college route, and my wallet appreciates that. So thank you to my Alex for saving me some bucks.
So think about that a little bit though, Obi, from social media perspective, right? Your Alex is not doing that um, because why isn't he doing it on social media? Because social media has put it out there that I'm saying this, you're not less than if you're right. Like, so we get to brag that we're going to the big schools, but we don't get to brag that we're going to a trade school or community school and saving money and still transferring into the 4-year school in 2 years. Like,
Yeah,
isn't it kind of weird how social media has changed things in a lot of ways?
I think social media has taken highlights and made us feel like they're um they're not highlights anymore, but check marks. Like, okay, the guy went to the highlight. It was cool. I did go on some tours, and the highlight tour was a school I went to in way upstate New York. Alfred was the school. I can't remember how far it was upstate. But it was like this is so out of where I'm used to. Like we made a whole trip of it. That trip was the highlight, not the school. Now it's like everyone goes and okay, now you're right. Here's all my acceptance letters, and you do see kids now, like you said, sports. Their parents will line up 3 hats for a non-sports person. You'd be like, which school you go? Like, and put on the hat. And you're like, okay. I'm happy your child got into college, and I'm happy for you, and I know it's a celebration. But this goes back to like one of our very first episodes with the whole like gender reveal. Like, it's just everything's got to be a thing now, as opposed to just
Yeah.
Congratulations, having a baby. Way to go. Way to go.
Yeah. So when you do the school, so here's the thing, and I'm not going to go down there with the gender reveal because we could have a conversation about that. But on the school selection, like we'll see, I'll know exactly where your kid's going to school and everyone else's kid's going to school. But you know what doesn't get posted on Facebook? When the kid flunks out, when the kid drank himself silly and got straight F's, right? And got a 0.0. That never makes it on Facebook. Nobody's saying, yo, my kid kicked ass partying and isn't going back. You never hear that.
Well, I did see a friend. Uh, Her daughter went to a school and it didn't work out. And she did announce that it didn't work out. She said, "Please respect our privacy, but we would like to take this moment to acknowledge that." But I can't even don't even know their daughter's name. Is no longer going to, and again, don't even know what school it was. Um, so yeah, now I don't know if that child then went to a local, like whether it was just a bad fit, bad grades, whatever, and then whatever it may or may not be. But I did see one person post that.
Well, that's an anomaly because I've
Oh,
never seen it.
absolute anomaly.
It's an anomaly. And what you would think from looking at social media is that every kid goes to their school and graduates with 4.0 in 4 years. But the reality, and this is part of being in the club, right? The reality is that that's all BS, right? And that when your kid comes home for winter break and they go and hang out with their college, their high school buddies, and then they come home, inevitably what turns out is, oh, so and so isn't going back. So and so is transferring. So and so decided that college isn't for them. And there's like 5 or 6 kids that aren't going back to school, right? From one high school. That doesn't, so you don't see that looking at social media. So if you're the kid is the one that isn't going back, you feel like, wow, my kid's the failure. But really, that's just the way the freaking world works.
Right, you're right. Or even that's one. Or you talk to your kid and you're like, oh, how you learn the name of a few friends, and then you find out that oh, that friend isn't coming back, or right, like oh, that friend is transferring. My son was the one who transferred out. Sammy transferred out, went to a completely different program. Was like this is bonkers. I don't want to be here. So yeah, although I did put that on social media, I think I'm not positive, but it was when you choose to transfer, it's a different story anyway.
Well, that's a whole other opportunity to put on Facebook. If you're
Right,
choosing, especially if you're like moving up in the world, that's all over it, right? Like,
right.
but if you failed out of school, that stuff never shows
That
up.
no,
Like, except my parents. My parents, if social media was around back in 1993, I'm quite certain my parents would have posted my letter from Rutgers kicking me out of school just to say, see, we told him he was going to get kicked out, and we were right.
Oh, by the way, this is so off how our show was planned for. By the way, I don't even know if engineering schools still do the look to your left, look to your right. One of and two of you are going to fail out. Like I don't even think they do that anymore.
Oh, I think they fell people out of engineering school still. A funny thing, I was out and I ran into a guy wearing a Rutgers sweatshirt, started talking to him, found out he was an engineering student, graduated in 98. So wait, you graduated? He goes, yeah. He goes, yeah, I made it. I go, oh, I was one of those people that you look to your left, look to your right. I was one of them. We got a good laugh at it.
Yeah, that's hey. So was I. There you go. That's three. Look, boom, 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 boom. The other thing I always say to people who tell me stories, I remember who was sitting to my left, and that person didn't graduate. So I want to know who was on the right.
He's a Rutgers engineering school graduate, probably has a house down the shore with a house somewhere in Somerset County making big bucks.
Yeah, yeah, probably.
So Obi, that's the club. So there is a club, and part of being in the club is you share that your kid isn't doing great, or your kid is doing great, or you find out that oh, your kid actually did fail out, like because that stuff is only discussed in the club. We don't discuss that stuff
On
with
social
people
media.
who aren't in the club, and on social media, people aren't in the club. So you got to get in the club to understand who failed out and who didn't fail out. So that's that piece. The other piece you talked about, we got it off the rails, and so let's get back on the rails because we don't want to go through life sucking completely. So we want to get back on the rails here and talk about our website a little bit. We've started to promote it a little bit, but we have this great website that we will again. It's got a lot of letters in it. I'm not going to give you the web address right now because that's the one thing that we do suck at is having a real easy web address. But the fact of the matter is, it will be on our advertisements for this episode. but we've gotten some great feedback there. So on the last two episodes, I mean, let's go back to our last real episode. We had a bonus episode, but we talked a little bit about things being locked up at CVS, and you know, here we go. Um, Toys said, "Free the toys indeed. Imagine having to humiliate yourself not once with the toy unlocker, but twice with the cashier too, with a buzzy butt. Not to mention whomever might be browsing the same aisle within earshot. Not exactly a frictionless purpose." I think that was a double entendre there. And then, of course, somebody else said, "Wait, Ed's a metrosexual? I always thought of him as a dysfunctional redneck, a redneck who doesn't know how to camp or fish." So we're getting some good feedback back there, Obi, and I think there's an opportunity for more feedback there. So what are your thoughts on the feedback we've been getting?
I have been loving our feedback. I've been going on checking the site. I'm so happy our fans are starting to interact with us more than just those of us who text us. Maybe we can build a small community, get, you know, those 3 or 4 people who send us direct stuff, plus these people here, get to 10, 15 people. I'd love to have your nemesis start posting, and they can even label their name Nemesis. That would be wonderful, because they're the one who probably didn't know that as a metrosexual or things like that. We also have polls. I love it. I love that we're starting to play there more, starting to see stuff there more. Shout out to our webmaster who constantly puts up different pictures than the ones that just the drinking from the garden hose sort of main label. It is a great opportunity, and number one thing you do is you get to abuse Ed and I on there with almost anonymity if you'd like.
Hey, Obi, first I got to correct you on something. Our webmaster doesn't come up with those photos. I do that.
Oh, you do that.
Yeah, our webmaster taught me how to use the website, so I do that, Obi.
Right. Hey, that's even.
I mean, our webmaster is brilliant in developing the website for us and allowing us to do polls and leave comments, but that's where he left it off.
Okay.
Just so you know, not that I need the credit. I just want you to understand how the website works.
On the web. Okay. All right. Well, I'm still going to give credit to the webmaster because he had to teach you. And as he's learned how you're an old man and computers are difficult for you. And our webmaster's an old man, but he's figuring it out. So,
yeah, he did. And so I will tell you this, Obi, I am liking the feedback, but I'm not real happy about the most recent poll we put up. So, our last bonus episode was about some feedback and it was really questioning what made me a real man. And somebody was questioning my manhood, which I thought was interesting. So the poll put up there was, is Ed a real man? Pretty simple. But overwhelmingly, the responses are negative towards me. Only one person said that Ed is a real man, and I believe that was me. But we have 3 votes for no. So we have 3 people who think I'm not a real man and they just don't have a sense of humor. Because then we have 2 people who just said, haha, funny question, which I'm going to put in the no category, that I'm not a real man. And then we have 3 people, the number one, tied for the top is, what kind of real man questions if someone is a real man? And I think this goes back to me originally questioning somebody if they were a real man back in Vegas. So I think a lot of negativity towards me on this poll. So luckily, I'm not crying over it, but I'll survive. But we need some positivity towards me on the next episode, I think.
Oh, I definitely don't think so. I think we can take our banter and make it playful and continue to give Ed bad responses in his polls. But I'm glad that you voted for yourself. That's good.
And, were you questioning who actually did vote for me?
No, I had no doubt who voted for you.
It was me.
I just didn't know it was the same person who chose the picture. Do you like me? Yes, no, maybe.
Yeah. That came from the internet. You just do a Google search for "Do you like me?" Because I really thought that that's what that feedback was on. Do you like me as me as in Ed? And there was also a comment that I thought that stuck out here, which was really good. Which was, we talked a little about you not be or you being afraid to walk to your car. So you have the key and the knuckle technique. And so we got some feedback here that OB's entourage of sword fighters will go medieval on your ass if you step between him and his hybrid in the dojo parking lot. Now that's a reference to Pulp Fiction and your new hybrid purchase car. So I think this person's saying that although you are a sword fighter, you may not be a real man either with that hybrid.
I may or may listen. I don't care if I'm a real man. I just care that my entourage of sword fighters defend me in my moment of need. Because then I'll be like a leader, somebody people stood up to protect, and that will be manly enough for me and my hybrid.
Speaking of real men, I mean, do my eyes look better? I've been using the cream every day for a couple of weeks now. Do they look any better?
Well, speaking of people being able to see you, Ed, I'm very excited about this community we're building here. We've talked a little bit about social media. So the question becomes, is it time for us to take the next step and not just verbally record, orally record this?
Listen, after that last episode, you shouldn't talk about orally anything.
I am very good using my oral skills.
That's great.
Yeah.
You might have just excited a lot of our listeners.
Or scared them. But do we want to start recording this visually and letting people see your beautiful, non-wrinkled eyes?
So, Obi, what you're saying is, do you think we should just post this on YouTube as is, like the Kelsey brothers do?
Well,
or are you talking about maybe cutting some things up and becoming TikTok stars?
So I think that the answer to your question, first of all, is that the Kelsey brothers do not just record it and put it on to the TikTok and or YouTube. They obviously have a production team that decides whether to show both of them, one of them, when bigger things, other pictures. And so the answer to the question is yes, like the Kelsey brothers, or yes, like the Long brothers, or yes, like many of the other podcasts that end up on YouTube. And it seems that when you put these things on YouTube, you then take smaller clips and you put them on the TikTok. So the big problem there is that I can record this on a video conferencing thing, but I don't know how to make it pretty. And I started my hobby of podcasting with a group, and we used to do it, and I still see that group's active and they're posting, but they still have what I would call the static screen, and I don't want it to be static screen, which puts us possibly in a position where we can't do it, but it'd be a starting question of should we do it? And I don't know if that question is just for you, but it may be for our new community of people on our website, which is gardenhose.vercel.app.
That's right. So, Obi, I think the better question is, much like we needed somebody to take pity on us and build our website for us, I think we need somebody who say they want to be our production engineer. Because absent that, no one's going to get to see the moneymaker. You know what I'm saying?
I understand exactly what you're saying. But, if they get to see our moneymaker, then we could be like, in the middle of our show going, speaking of the fuzzy butt, get Cologuard.
Can you imagine? That's a great product placement, Cologuard, on our on our podcast. Do you think we could get a sponsorship with Cologuard?
I think that would be that. Listen, that joke was prepared because I was like, I think that is exactly who we should be sponsoring. Who should be some life insurance, ARP, all the people that show that we're old.
That's right. So I guess, Obi, the real question is, what do our fans want? Do our fans want to see us try to figure out the video part? And so I think we need that feedback.
I agree. I don't think this is just for us to decide, because it would be a waste of effort if nobody's interested in seeing my beautiful smiley face and your gorgeous wrinkle-free eyes.
Right.
Right.
So I think that's good feedback. I think people also, another thing I would be interested in, because Obi, people don't realize is Obi's on TikTok. He sends me videos from TikTok all the time. I don't have TikTok, so I can't open them. but he continues to still send me the videos as if I can open them. So I guess the question is, should Ed get TikTok so he can watch Obi's videos that he sends? And should we create a TikTok account for the podcast?
Two very good questions that we can get answered. Because you know why we'll get that answered, Ed? Because our fans don't suck. The charm is that we suck. I'm Obi. That said, looking forward to your feedback. See you in a couple of weeks.